Welcome back to Prime Talks. I'm Mo Litsky. At Prime Quadrant, we believe deeply that wealth and well-being are inseparable. The way we manage stress, cultivate relationships, and take care of ourselves has a real impact on how we make decisions and ultimately build a meaningful life. That's why I'm excited to introduce a new feature called Prime WellBeing, hosted by our wellness advisor and foundation director, Rebecca Nicholson. Rebecca will bring a perspective on what it means to take care of yourself when the stakes are high and the demands are real. Rebecca will be sitting down with leading wellness experts for thoughtful conversations and guided experiences you can partake in. This week, I'm handing things over to her. She's been thinking a lot lately about mindfulness and why it matters in leadership, and I think what she shares today will stay with you. I'll be back for the next episode, but for now, this is exactly the kind of conversation I want you to hear.
Welcome to Prime WellBeing. This is an immersive podcast in two parts, a conversation with a leading wellness expert, and then a guided experience in real time. So no more just talking about well-being. Now it's time to feel it. I'm Rebecca Nicholson, the Foundation Director and Wellness Advisor for Prime Quadrant. And Prime WellBeing is created in support of the Prime Quadrant Foundation, which focuses on mental health, well-being, and overall quality of life. So if this resonates with you, this conversation, this episode, please feel free to click on the link in the show notes and make a donation. Now, today, we are exploring what it truly means to lead with mindfulness as a tool that shapes how we show up when it matters most. And I'm so excited to introduce my friend and incredible facilitator of many modalities, Michelle Berlin. Michelle, so good to see you. Thank you for joining me. I wanted to ask you, who are you and what do you do?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So my name is Michelle Berlin. And like Rebecca said, I facilitate many different modalities, of course, all surrounded and encompassing mindfulness practices. So I teach yoga, meditation. There's many different styles. Sound healing, which is one of my favorites, which I think I read once, which is very interesting. If sound is an elevator to meditation. So it kind of gets you there in that meditative state a little bit easier. And yeah, among other things, some Thai body work, yoga teacher trainings, all the good stuff.
Amazing. Michelle, don't you do, and I've done this with you before in Miami, but didn't we do some type of an animal flow or something?
Yes, primal movement. Primal
movement. Yeah.
Yep, that's another one.
You're very, honestly, you are such an incredible facilitator and you do so many different things. And that's why I was so excited to have you on our first episode. So this one really is focused on mindfulness for leaders. And I know a leader can be anybody. It doesn't have to be a high level executive in a giant firm. It could be, a single mother at home dealing with kids. So I'm curious, how would you explain mindfulness and really who's it for and who could it really benefit?
Mindfulness is for everybody, right? I think that sometimes there's limitations to physical practices, but I feel like it's so accessible for everybody. Like you said, from the mom to the grandma, to the athlete, to the CEO, there's really not many excuses one can make up for not being able to sit, practice, just focus on your breath. A lot of excuses for people saying, I can't do yoga because I can't touch my toes or whatever it is. Yeah. But I think that what the beauty of meditation and mindfulness is that it's so accessible for everyone, even kids.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be a different world if they actually taught mindfulness in schools to kids?
I think they're starting. It's starting. Yeah, it's happening. It's happening.
Okay. Fingers crossed. I think that would be an incredible shift. Mm-hmm. Start them young. When you think about all of the different modalities that you teach, I'm curious, how did you even step into this world of facilitating, being a practitioner, being a healer, all of these different things? What made you kind of shift into that industry?
I think, in college, I started diving into yoga, which is, in the West, we've made it a very physical based practice, which then kind of opens you up to the more subtle, energetic practices that are in the mind. So I studied in India. I actually stayed there for a year. And where in the West, we focus a little bit more on the physical. In India and in places like Nepal, another place I studied, they're very much more focused on the mind. And a lot of these old yogic texts and mindfulness practices and different meditation modalities, it's really just, going into the psychology of the mind, but also dismantling it and just being able to be aware without judgment. So I find these practices, and there's different ways you can approach it and make it accessible for you. I think that sometimes people, I can't sit for an hour, meditate. You don't need to. It could be 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I started to dive in. I was one of those people. I'm like, I like to move.
Yeah.
I like to keep things going. But then I was like, okay. If I breathe, I can access this state that is meditation that everybody's talking about for like 5 minutes. And then it extends to 10 minutes and then 15. And then it really becomes a practice. So I think that's the one thing I wouldn't want people to be deterred thinking you have to sit there for 30 minutes your first time and meditate or
I was
clear
the
your
exact same
mind.
way. Yeah, exactly. I was the exact same way. I was just like, I need to get my workout. I want to burn calories. I want to get fit. And I remember when I was, really stepping into yoga. I remember this one yoga instructor, and she just made us sit and meditate. And I was always like, when do I start moving? It's such a waste of my time. And what I really recognized, what I really needed most was almost that nemesis posture, was just sitting in silence. And now that's become my best friend. And now it's almost like I'm being called more to just sitting and doing nothing versus pushing myself so hard. So it's really about finding, I think, that balance and how more deeply we can go.
Yeah. And I think the key to health, wellness, longevity, all these things that we're hearing about now is a calm nervous system. Being able to self-regulate, regulate your nervous system so you're better with connecting to other people. You can handle stress more. You're more creative, more productive. So I think that these practices really just teach the nervous system there's a different way of being. And I think it's beautiful.
It kind of aligns with everything in our lives, even dating. They're saying like if your heart is racing all the time and you feel anxious, it's like probably not the person you should be with, right? Like who's the partner that actually calms your nervous system? So I think it really is turning into that dialogue of like, okay, like we actually really need to focus on feeling more calm. And how do we, find those easy, accessible points? So how do we make mindfulness more accessible?
To the masses, you mean?
Or even just to an individual, like how
I
do we
think
kind of get through? Because, sometimes it feels a little too woo. Like, I don't want to do that. Doesn't help me. How, like, why would I do that? So how do we actually make this accessible to just kind of the normal human out there that doesn't understand the benefits, I guess?
I think just keeping it simple. I like the practices can be so simple, so direct. And there is this misconception that, meditation, mindfulness, you have to be able to sit there and clear your mind. No, that's not it. We're humans. We are colored with all sorts of emotions and situations that happen and come up. It's just really looking at that without judgment, because I think we are our, most harsh critics. And if we can kind of shift that mindset where, I can't sit and meditate and clear my mind. Well, of course you can't. You're human. I can't either. So it's just using these practices just to get a little bit more space and a little bit more space and a little bit more space. And I think just keeping them simple and accessible is really the way. We don't have to, make it too complicated.
Yeah, and when I've worked with people as well, it's I often try to discuss with them the different parts of that human experience. So how is your head or your mind or your cognition feeling? How is your body, your physical body feeling? How is your heart feeling? Yeah, a beautiful piece that's moving everything through your body. And then how is your spirit or your soul feeling? So kind of all these different parts
Love
within
that.
this human experience, really touching on all of that. My body's feeling lethargic, doesn't want, okay, let's move. Or my heart's broken. I just went through something really tragic. Okay, let's pay attention to your heart. Kind of these different opportunities to, recognize that we're not just, this, I don't know, this one dimension. We are many, many dimensions on many different levels. So how do we address all of those dimensions?
Yeah, absolutely.
As a healer and a facilitator, as everything that you do for so many people and how you show up for so many clients, and you really you're going for so many people all the time. How do you take care of yourself?
Honestly, I love silence,
Yeah.
and I have my own meditation practice, and relaxation practices. Like when I lay down or even sit, I'll just do my own little body scan and just tune in. And again, if I have a busy day and the last thing I want to do is like make meditation or mindfulness feel like work, I'll just lay on my floor and just relax and focus on my breath. And that focusing just on the breath, just noticing it or shifting a little bit is a mindfulness practice. So I make sure to
Mm,
get these little droplets in throughout the day in between
mm,
sessions. But also the sessions are very healing for me as well. You know,
yeah,
it
that's a good
depends on the
point.
situation, of course, but they can be very healing.
Have you ever had a client where you're just like, you know what, I can't work with you anymore.
No.
It's too much. It's no.
I had one. I was like, well, this is going to be a tough cookie. It's a guy who runs
Yeah.
big company, and his mind is
Yes.
going. And he's such a character. I mean, I love him to death. I've been working with him now for 15 years. And he came to me and literally said this, I just need you to shut my brain off. I'm like,
Yes.
I don't think I could do that. That's a big ask. And he's like, I just need the brain to shut off. And he was a poor sleeper, just overstressed, overworked, And I work with him
Yes.
3 times a week. I use sound. And
Mm.
it's like really the only time that he's quiet. And he now can still this thoughts, not completely, but it's been, years in the practice, but it's been
Yeah.
great. But no, I think everybody is available to these methods. So
It's a really interesting part that you just brought up, because I actually remember working with a very high level like leader in the business world, and many meetings or like calendar invites were just he just wouldn't show up. He was like, no, I really want to do this, I really want to work with
right,
you, this is so busy, I'm so busy. It's like, okay, well, number one, you just got to show up, which
just
is
show up.
oftentimes the hardest part, right?
It
Is
is.
just showing up. It's like I used to say that when I would teach yoga. It's like, just you showed up, you're on the
Show up.
mat, congratulations,
Yeah,
that's all you need. Even if you just lie on the mat the entire time and don't
that's
move and you're in
exactly what I
shavasana the whole
say.
time.
Yeah, yeah, you're
Yeah,
there.
just
The
show up.
intention is
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and it's, but I think that really is the point there, is an individual has to show up for themselves because nobody else can do it for them,
right.
right?
And even if you
Yeah,
last a minute, it's a minute longer than yesterday. Like, great,
exactly,
a
yeah,
minute, we'll take it.
yeah, and, and like, so it's that question, that age-old question of, can calmness be trained, or is it something, or is it more of a personality trait? What do you think? Well, like, have you seen it as like, are people born with it? Or maybe it's Maybelline, was that,
No, I think that, I mean, the breath regulates the nervous system. So I think the best access point is get people breathing better. I mean,
Mm,
I look at people's postures and how they're breathing, and if they're using, their belly breathing, or, if their breath is shallow. I think once you can kind of teach people, it sounds kind of funny, like we're all breathing, but teach people how to breathe correctly, it can
mm.
calm their nervous system, lower their heart rate. And so you can kind of train people, I think. But yeah, of course, there's different personalities, different situations. But yeah, I think
Yeah,
everybody.
I think a lot of times, like, really, the people that are go, 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 it's like maybe the consideration is mindfulness is too soft. It's too
Mm,
gentle, right? Like, and it's like almost like we were saying at the start of this conversation, where we just wanted, the physical workout, but sitting was the hardest part. But I think kind of once you cross that bridge, you
right.
realize that maybe that's the most important piece.
Yeah. And I would give those types of more active
Mm,
people like an active breath meditation. I mean, there's mindfulness practices, and one of the modalities I teach is the Osho dynamic meditation. I mean, it's literally a breath meditation where you shake the body and you move.
yeah,
And you close your
yeah,
eyes, you
that's so
go
true.
inward. It's a little bit like, some people might see it as a little bit woo woo or wacky, but the whole method behind it is, okay, the Western mind, we have so much going on in our heads. To have them sit and meditate for an hour in silence would probably drive them more crazy. But since we
Mhm.
are accumulating all this stuff, the to-do list, the relationship stuff, the work stuff, it's good to like shake and move the body. So there's also there's so many ways you can approach it. And so it really
That's so
depends on the
true.
person, the group. I would kind of like prescribe different things for different people.
That's a huge point. Can you actually address the piece around breath work? And, we're, obviously the first thing we do when we're born is we breathe, right?
Hmm.
That first breath of life. So, how is it that different forms of breath work, either, like going fast inhaling or, holding on the exhale, holding on the inhale, these kinds of different breath work technology or, tools, what is that actually doing for somebody?
Yeah, I think you touched on a good point. There's so many different breath work,
Hmm.
like different types of breath work. And there's some that are meant to tap you into parasympathetic, right? So it starts to calm the nervous system, and that would be like the slow, deep breathing. And then there's some that actually turn on the autonomic nervous system, which actually intentionally puts you in fight or flight, which it will put you in a safe stress response. Like, I guess a lot of these more new agey breathwork techniques, like, Wim Hof, holotropic, these were all around in like more of the ancient times, but this gets a very active person super engaged, and like the brain wave starts to shift into more of an active mind, but then it helps you deal with stress a little bit better. And then after, that specific breathwork meditation where it's activating the mind, it then calms the nervous system, because, you can go up only so long until you just like calm down.
Mm.
So it just really depends. I mean, I myself, off the top of my head, I know like 20 different types of breath work, and they all have their, purpose.
Yeah. I've done some pretty extreme breathwork experiences, and I could compare these experiences to a psychedelic experience,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I've witnessed, and I've gone through my own where it's totally broken me open in a really powerful way. It's what do they call it when you're it's like the
Tetany.
lobster hand tetany,
Tetany.
your lobster
Yeah.
hands,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
like all the pins and needles in the lips, and then the really emotional movement through the body. Can you explain how kind of we get to that point and what that's actually good for?
Yeah, I always say to students, you're going to get high on your own supply, like
Yeah.
like the breath work. I mean, so that one, there's specific ones that help you release trauma in the body. So the holotropic was developed by a psychiatrist, actually, and I forget, it's Stanis Grof. You remember the
Yeah.
last? Yeah,
Gruff. Yeah.
he actually
Stanislav.
developed
Yeah.
that because that's when
Yeah.
LSD was legal. He would use LSD on like his patients to work through PTSD or traumatic
Hmm.
experiences. And then when Nixon banned LSD, he's like, well, what can I do to get people in these psychedelic states where they can work through their emotions and
Yeah.
break through their traumas? So he developed the holotropic breath work that gets you, exactly like you said, in that psychedelic state where you can process these emotions or these deep wounds, deep traumas. And then from there, the holotropic, there's like the rebirthing breath, Wim Hof, which is a little bit different. But yeah, I think when you do those types of very intense breath work, you kind of get those aha moments like, oh, wow, I'm still storing that from my childhood. So things start to come up to the surface where you can process and look at them and be like,
Mm.
oh, okay. And it's not, maybe it is a little bit uncomfortable, but it's just coming up for you to observe it without judgment. I think that's the key thing, like observe it without judgment. Like,
Mm.
don't judge those experiences or don't let them shape you. And that's really what mindfulness is. If a thought's coming up, you observe it, let it go. You aren't that thought,
Mm.
and nothing is permanent. Like,
Yeah.
you say, if you're tired, be tired. It's not permanent. If you're,
Mm.
you know, excited or hyper, be excited and hyper. And
Mm. The
yeah,
ebbs and flows of
yeah, ebbs and
life.
flows. Yeah.
Yeah, I was, and I consider it in a way of like cleaning the closets, the internal closets, right?
Cleaning the
Of like
closet.
all that
Yeah.
stuck energy and the stress, and that you're kind of on this go, 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 work, kids, do, everything you need to do. And then all of a sudden you give yourself time to just reset and
Mm-hmm.
let go and move a lot of that stuck energy out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from my own personal experiences can be extremely liberating, just moving it out, and you're like, oh, okay, I need to do that every few months.
Yeah, you feel like Like it's like a
Yeah.
big weight being taken off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just curious for all the, maybe you can talk to me and whoever is going to be watching this a little bit about, the different clients you work with, confidentially. You don't have to, say any names, but I'm also curious about, maybe, emotional patterns that some of
Mm.
these really kind of high level people hold, or that you're trying to kind of shift for them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people come to me when their tank is depleted. I
Hmm.
guess like we could look at it both ways. Either they're so full with like their work, family life, career demands, that their internal tank gets depleted. I've worked with a lot of different types of clients, privates. I've done a lot of corporate meditation, law offices. Um, actually did I do the wellness retreats for Sony Music Latin America. So those are very like, high functioning individuals that are always seeking out the talent. Um, but yeah, I think like a common thread is, oh, I can't meditate,
Hmm.
or I'm too busy, or I mean, we spoke about this. I think that, but then once they get breathing or they hear some sounds, they're like, it starts to activate. I think it's just like breaking the misconception. I think that's
Yeah.
really the patterns in most people, the misconceptions about what meditation is, the I can't, trying
Mm.
to get that out of their vocabulary. I was like, okay, you can't sit and meditate. Can you take a deep breath in? They take a deep breath in. Okay, can you take a long breath out? And then, okay, so you can breathe, so you can observe that breath. So it's like as simple as that. I always like just to keep it simple, simple, simple. And I think that breaks a lot of the misconceptions of these, all certain
Sure.
types of people.
It's so funny you said the I can't. My father used to say, while I was growing up, I would say, I can't. And he said, can't means I won't. Right. So
Yeah.
it's actually your choice, right?
Yeah.
You can either you step into it, you can, right? You
Yeah.
can do anything. And like it's not going to be perfect the first time. So that's why we call it a practice, right? Just keep showing up, and eventually get easier and easier.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. It's been
Thank
so nice talking
you.
to you, and I think
Yeah.
it's really time to kind of experience your magic and what you do for everyone out there, and how well you do it. So this is one of my favorite parts about these immersive podcasts, because this is where I throw it over to you so that we can really enjoy the facilitated journey and experience these opportunities for more mindfulness. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this, was to create more accessibility
Hmm.
for people, and also to really connect the business world and the healers, right? This is sometimes the hardest part, is how to find those incredible people around the world and experience their magic. So with that, I'm going to throw it over to you, Michelle. Take it over.
Okay. So if you are a new meditator, I invite you can lay down so it gets the body out of the way. Generally, meditation, mindfulness practices are seated, but if you're feeling a little bit achy and you don't want to be disturbed by the, body stuff, you can lay down with headphones. If you prefer to sit, I invite you to sit up nice and tall, get any cushions around you, maybe for under your knees. You want to make the body as comfortable as you can. All right, so we will begin. I invite you to close your eyes. With the eyes closed, just notice the breath. Notice the breath without having to shift it or change it. Just observing the breath as it is. Notice the quality of the inhale and noticing the quality and the texture of the exhale. And if the mind starts to wander, that's okay. Just bring it back to the breath. Focus on the air as they enter into the nostrils, the temperature, the texture. And notice any softness that needs to happen in the body with the exhale. And I invite you to now invite the inhale to make you a little bit more alert. And invite the exhale to soften those spaces in the body that tend to hold or grip. So now the breath becomes a tool for balance. When you inhale, you sit up a little bit taller. And as you exhale, maybe feel the shoulders soften away from the ears. And as you inhale, you can focus in a little bit more on the space behind the closed eyelids. And as you exhale, you unhinge the jaw, unhinge the space in between the temples. Keeping your inner awareness focused on the natural ebb and flow of the inhale and the exhale. Observing any energetic shifts that are happening organically in the body with each breath. Transitioning from simple breath awareness to a breath practice. Trying to elongate the inhale to a 4-second count. And then bring the exhale to a 4-second count. So you inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling gently through the nose. 3, 2, 1. Exhale gently out the mouth. 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep breathing. In a moment, we're going to add a breath hold at the top and a breath hold at the bottom. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath. 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath at the bottom. 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath. 3, 2, 1. Exhale slowly. 3, 2, 1. Pausing here at the bottom. 3, 2, 1. Continue on your own. So it's a 4-second inhale, a pause for 4 seconds, 4-second exhale, and then a pause. This is box breathing. And I invite you in those holds to truly make it a pause. So instead of holding or restricting, you're just sitting in the space at the top of the inhale, observing that space. And then when you pause at the bottom of the exhale, instead of it being a hold, which brings tension, you're just pausing and observing that space at the bottom of the exhale until you inhale again. In those pauses, you're just entering the observation deck of the mind. Sitting in those pauses in a calm, serene way. As you continue this breath, see if you can soften the space in the palate and soften the jaw. It's an even, steady flow of the inhale, the pause, the exhale, and the pause. And as you breathe, you keep the tongue heavy to the bottom of the palate. And you'll do one more full round of this box breathing in the 4 count. Then let your breath come back to its natural organic state. So no need to control or count. And as you land back into the natural breathing pattern, see if you can just notice any energetic shift in the mind or in the body. Just noticing without judgment. Allowing whatever is coming up to come up. Whatever is occupying space in the mind or the heart to come up, it's valid. It's observation without judgment. This too shall pass. Noticing the thoughts, not identifying with them. And reel your awareness back into the breathing. And allow the awareness to shift from the breath to behind the closed eyelids. Exploring the vast, warm, dark space behind the closed eyelids. Bring your awareness from behind the closed eyelids to the skin on the forehead, noticing the sensations there as you soften the brow center. And gliding that awareness across the forehead to the temples, the space in between the temples. The space in between the temples, going back to the deep fabric of the brain. See if you can notice the space in between the brain and the skull. And bringing your awareness down from the brain to the back of the neck, traveling around to the throat, allowing the throat to relax back into the cervical spine. Then bringing the awareness up to the ears, earlobes, the inner ears, now I invite you to tune in with your sense of hearing, bringing your awareness solely to the sounds, just connecting to the sounds as your point of meditation. Just allow the sounds to take you where they need to take you. Keep your eyes closed, but just start to intentionally deepen your breath. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Almost make the breath exaggerated and audible. Deep breath in. And long breath out. One more like that. Deep breath in. And long, slow breath out. And as you breathe deeper, maybe start to wiggle the toes and the fingers. Bring other movement into the body that feels good. You can roll out your neck, roll your shoulders back. And as you take deeper breaths, bigger breaths, the movements become a little bit bigger. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes, come back to the space. And thank you very much. Rebecca, back to you.
Wow, I'm really in my Zen mode right now. Michelle, it was beautiful. Can you just take a moment and show us that beautiful hand pan? And
Yes.
this was not pre-recorded, folks. This was in
No,
real
this is
time
our
experience.
little spacecraft. I love these. Yeah, I love these guys. They're
Yeah.
on their own so meditative and relaxing. And this specific scale is a Hijaz scale. So it's an Arabic scale. So it's got that kind of eerie and mystical quality, I think, but
Beautiful.
takes different people, different places. So
yeah, incredible. And you're just using your hands, right? You're
yeah,
not
it's
using...
just fingers. You just use your fingers on like the notes on the tone field. So it's like hitting a hot stove.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I use sound in all my, no matter what kind of meditation I'm guiding, I love sound.
It kind of really makes it extra impactful, I think. And I've tried to play those in the past, and for whatever reason, I can't get a sound out of them.
Yeah,
So,
it takes a little practice, but yeah, these are
yeah.
very special.
Well, that was incredible. I feel really reset and full. Thank you so much. Is there anything you want to add? Do you want to just share with us how people can reach out to you if they'd like to connect with you?
Sure. I mean, I guess the easiest way is Instagram. I'm Yogi Shelley on Instagram. And then again, I created that 22 years ago. I feel like I don't want to say I'm like not a yogi anymore, but I've moved in so many different
Yeah.
directions from like the traditional yoga practice here. But yeah, it's Yogi Shelley on Instagram, or my email is also yogishelley@gmail. My website's yogishelley.com. So it's pretty
So
easy.
it's YOGISHELLEY. Yeah.
LLY.
LLY. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I
Mhm.
like to sneak an extra E in things
Yeah.
sometimes. Well, that was really incredible. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank
It's
you.
always so beautiful to see you and
You know.
experience the magic that you're putting out into the world. And thank you for everything that you're doing for people, just resetting that nervous system. We could all use it, especially this day and age.
Yes, everybody needs it.
Yes. Yes. So, for all of our listeners, just really take one breath before you move on. Notice your posture, really feel those feet rooted and grounded. Notice your state, and really leadership begins here.
Mm,
So, thank you so much, everyone.
thank
And we'll see you
you.
next time.